The Ohio data center project began with a staggering $250 billion guarantee. But as costs mounted, Nvidia dramatically
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're skipping the usual hype and diving straight into a massive financial mystery unfolding right now between two absolute giants, Nvidia and Openai. You know, the sheer capital required to keep this artificial intelligence boom moving is completely unprecedented. But a huge piece of that puzzle just shifted dramatically behind the scenes. So let's unpack exactly what happened. $250 billion. Think about that for a second. $250 billion. This wasn't just some casual back-of-the-napkin estimate. No, this was Nvidia's originally planned financial guarantee to back an incredible OpenAI infrastructure project. When we talk about building the future of AI, we aren't talking about small startup rounds anymore. We're talking about capital that literally rivals the GDP of entire nations. And all of this is allocated simply to build the physical foundation where AI will live and operate.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the drastic shift we're seeing. The newly reported figure for this financial guarantee is suddenly less than $120 billion. That is a reduction of more than half. Over $130 billion in planned backing just seemingly wiped off the board in the structural planning of this project. In the high-stakes world of AI infrastructure, a haircut of this magnitude is a pivotal development, setting up a central contrast that has financial analysts paying very, very close attention.
And well, that brings us to the core question of our investigative narrative today. Why? Why on earth did Nvidia, the undisputed king of AI hardware, reduce its financial exposure to one of the most ambitious projects from OpenAI? In this explainer, we're going to unpack the mechanics of this shift. We aren't going to rely on wild internet hysteria. Instead, we're going to use strictly the facts to understand exactly what is happening under the hood of the AI economy.
Section 1, the $250 billion plan. Let's look at where this all started.
Let's break down exactly what this initial $250 billion figure actually represented. You see, this $250 billion wasn't necessarily a giant pile of cash Nvidia was just handing over to OpenAI in a briefcase. In the context of the massive AI infrastructure boom, it represented a planned financial guarantee to support a major OpenAI data center project. A guarantee of this size essentially acts as an incredible safety net, right? It signals to investors, banks, and the wider market that Nvidia stands firmly behind the project's massive financing requirements. It's basically the ultimate seal of approval that makes securing capital for these gargantuan physical builds even possible.
Moving on to Section 2, the Ohio data center. You know, when navigating stories of this scale, it is absolutely critical to separate verified facts from reported information. On one hand, we have the verified facts. There's a massive OpenAI data center project being developed in Ohio. That physical project is very real and it's happening. But on the other hand, the reported information, the details currently circulating through financial channels, involves Nvidia's exact role and those shifting financial targets we were just discussing. Acknowledging this distinction is key to keeping our analysis totally grounded in reality.
Section 3, the dramatic financial cut.
Comparing the original $250 billion plan with the newly reported structure sitting at less than $120 billion reveals a pretty stark reality. So why do financing mechanics actually matter at this scale? Well, because a guarantee dictates risk. By lowering the guarantee, Nvidia is significantly lowering its own financial exposure. It fundamentally changes the risk profile for the company while, still maintaining a huge multi-billion-dollar commitment to the project. It's essentially a surgical adjustment to their financial posture.
Section 4, separating fact from fiction. So the crucial point is making sure we don't get swept up in the rumors.
Let's talk about what this development does not prove. First off, Nvidia has absolutely not abandoned OpenAI. A nearly $120 billion guarantee is still one of the largest financial commitments in corporate history. Second, the Ohio project is not canceled, it is very much ongoing. Third, this does not mean OpenAI is failing. And finally, no, the AI boom is not ending. We have to explicitly dispel all this manufactured drama online so we can actually analyze the verified business mechanics at play here.
Section 5, the AI infrastructure race. Let's zoom out a bit. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the situation. Traditional tech infrastructure financing, things like your standard cloud servers and web hosting data centers, it just pales in comparison to the mind-boggling economics required to power global AI. The AI infrastructure race demands specialized facilities, massive power grids, advanced cooling systems, and literally millions of cutting-edge GPUs. The financing requirements are completely unprecedented. I mean, that is exactly why the numbers we are discussing today sound like they belong in a sci-fi movie.
Section 6. What does this mean? Let's tie it all together. Here is a logical progression of how investors and industry professionals are actually viewing this data without jumping to those doom-mongering conclusions. Step 1. We analyze Nvidia's reduced financial exposure. It shows a company fine-tuning its balance sheet and managing risk, even while totally dominating the market. Step 2. We acknowledge the Ohio project continues, which proves the demand for AI compute remains intensely high. And Step 3. We observe the evolving economics of the wider AI industry. The market is maturing, guys. Financing structures are adapting. The initial blank check phase of the AI boom might just be transitioning into a phase of highly calculated strategic capital deployment. Which leaves us with this final, powerful question to consider. By cutting their planned guarantee from $250 billion down to less than $120 billion, is this simply a masterclass in responsible risk management by Nvidia? Or does this adjustment reveal something deeper, perhaps a subtle shift in the underlying economics of the global AI infrastructure boom? The facts give us the framework, but interpreting the long-term ripple effects of this $250 billion pivot is something the entire tech world is actively debating right now. I highly encourage you to look at the scale of these investments, weigh the ongoing developments in Ohio, and form your own interpretation of where the AI economy is heading next. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.